Hey, it's Motorhead. On the printouts that I've got, and I'm going to post these online, I've got the little T marks on the ends. What I'm going to do is cut along the edge of where the color is, and then at a 45-degree angle through that T. And that will allow me to get the papers lined up. And you just need to do it like on the right side of two of the sheets, or the left side of two of the sheets, or if you wanted to, you could even do the right and left side of just the middle sheet. I'm going to take some of that extra paper off too, because that overlap, I'm not going to cut quite to the color, so there'll be maybe a 1/16 of an inch overlap, but it's better if you have, you know, a 1/16 overlap instead of the 1/4 inch the way it's printed. Okay, I'm going to lay the one that has the 45-degree cuts over top the other one and line up the centers of the T's so that they make a cross. Hold that in place and then tape. I don't want to tape on the picture itself. Now the upper portion you tape up here because that's going to be cut away. On the lower portion you want to tape below, you know, that bottom line. Do the second sheet here. And then to make the video shorter, I'm going to pause while I do the left-hand side. This is the right-hand side, so that my video is shorter. Okay, now that I've got my pictures taped together and lined up, got everything real nice there, I need to take and trim. I've got a line that's for the back edge of the rudder. I'm going to trim right in front of that line, so the line's actually not going to end up on the foam. Trim it up out of the way, and then I've got a little, I've got the area right in front of the brake or gas pedal there. I'm going to trim it off because it doesn't need to be there. And then I've got my line that goes right across the bottom of the picture there, and that is going to line up with the bottom of the foam, and then the back edge is going to line up with the one edge of the foam. And that if I line them both up with the line and the back edge, then they should match left to right. And we'll see how good of a job I do. So I'm going to take that, it sits on there nice, and I'm going to put some 3M77 on it and then lay it down. Okay, got my foam glued. Got my picture here. And I'm going to carefully move that. Bring my foam back down here. And then once again, I'm going to try to hold it all up off there, except for, I'm going to line up the back edge and that line across the bottom along the one edge and along the bottom of the foam, and then I'll just carefully push the paper down onto the foam. If there's a few wrinkles, I'm going to try to get the wrinkles so that they're in the white part of the paper and off the image. There's a couple that come up here at the top, but overall the image looks pretty good. And I'm going to cut it out. I've already got the image on the other side, so now I have an image on both sides. I'm going to trim off the excess paper using the foam for a guide. There's the bottom and the front, and the back's lined up. And so now I just have to trim around the actual shape of my character. I'm going to start off by going and cutting out the rudder, or at least the top part of it. Cut that out. And then I'm going to just roughly remove some foam. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the stick motor mount area. Got my motor mount. I'm going to mark where I want that back edge to be. And then cut that out. Okay, and then I will cut that back edge on both sides. And remove that piece of foam. Yep, that motor mount sits in there nicely. Now I'm going to make a little mark where the front of it needs to be. I don't actually have to make a mark. It looks like it's just right there by his foot. So I'm going to come and just start trimming what's going to be the front edge of the cart. And I'll remove just some large areas. Probably be best if I kind of sketch where I want to do. I'm not going to cut perfectly along there. I want to come out and leave some material in. So I'm going to leave a little bit in, you know, between the steering wheel and his foot. And in this case, I normally cut out clear down around his head. In this case, I'm probably going to leave, you know, a little bit in there. I'll go ahead and cut around his head and everything like that, but I'm going to leave some extra material in these two areas here. And so I'm just going to take my knife and just roughly cut this excess foam away, and that makes it easier to get in there and do the more intricate cuts. I'll cut along his back seat here. Make sure my cuts have all gone through the paper on the far side. Okay, so there's my rough cut. If you're wondering about my knife, it's just a little clicky blades where you can snap them off. You get them at the hardware store. I really like these a lot for cutting foam. And then I'm going to use the end of my bench and then a sawing motion to cut this out to the shape I want. Try to keep your fingers away from the blade, of course. Yep, everything's looking good on both sides of that. I'll continue on around and do the fine cuts around his head. The top of his nose, and then come down around his hat. Cut down in the foam there, pull that out. And there he's all cut out. Last order of business is to cut the rudder loose. I like my rudder hinge to be on the left hand side. So I'm going to place my straight edge on where I want my hinge line to be, and rather than cutting straight up and down, I'm going to put my knife at an angle and cut a V notch, or half of a V notch out of that. So with my knife at an angle, I'll pull down and I'm going to cut the rudder loose, and you can see maybe a little bit it has a bevel on it. And so now I'm going to do the other half of the V. Put my ruler or straight edge on there. Again, have my knife at an angle. Cut that out. So now there's one side of the hinge line. Flip it over. You can see the opening in the V. And I've got a good 45 degrees that I can put that in. So anyways, there's Luigi ready to be mounted to the rest of the cart.